Imagine understanding your pepper plant so intimately that you could predict their needs before they even show visible signs of stress. There's a secret language they speak, one that unveils their true resilience and potential. Get ready to discover the subtle cues that will revolutionize the way you care for your peppers, leading to an explosion of healthy, vibrant fruit that will make your neighbors wonder what your secret is. Your pepper plant's leaves are constantly communicating, but most gardeners only notice the obvious signs like yellowing or wilting. The real magic lies in reading the subtler messages that healthy leaves whisper to those who know how to listen. When you run your fingers along a pepper leaf, the texture should feel substantial and slightly waxy, not thin or papery. This waxy coating, called the cuticle, is your plant's natural armor against moisture loss and environmental stress. A truly healthy pepper leaf exhibits a distinctive sheen that catches light beautifully, almost like it's been polished. This glossy surface indicates optimal hydration levels and efficient nutrient uptake through the root system. When leaves appear dull or matte, even if they're still green, your plant is already beginning to conserve moisture and may be struggling with either water availability or root health issues that haven't yet manifested visibly. Pay close attention to the subtle positioning of your leaves throughout the day. Healthy pepper plants will angle their leaves to capture morning sun while slightly adjusting their position during the hottest afternoon hours. If you notice leaves consistently cupping inward or curling at the edges, this isn't always a sign of underwatering. Sometimes it's your plant's way of protecting itself from excessive sun exposure, or indicating that the soil pH is preventing proper nutrient absorption, even when water is plentiful. The thickness and firmness of pepper leaves really tell an incredible story about your plant's overall vigor. Robust, well-fed plants produce leaves with substantial thickness that feel almost succulent to the touch. These thick leaves act as nutrient storage banks, allowing the plant to weather minor stresses and continue producing fruit, even when conditions aren't perfect. On the other hand, thin, brittle leaves often signal that your plant is channeling all its energy into survival rather than building reserves for abundant fruit production. The root system of your pepper plants is working tirelessly below the surface and, honestly, learning to interpret its signals without digging up your plants is a skill that separates novice gardeners from true pepper whisperers. One of the most revealing techniques is the gentle pot lift test for container-grown peppers. A healthy, well-watered pepper plant in appropriate soil will feel surprisingly heavy when lifted, but not waterlogged. The weight should feel substantial and balanced, indicating a robust root system that's actively absorbing and holding moisture. So, when you notice those tiny roots making an appearance at the soil surface around your pepper plants, it's important to resist the urge to immediately cover them with more soil. These surface roots are like your plant's little reconnaissance team, and their appearance location tells you exactly what your plant needs. When surface roots appear in a wide circle around the base, it typically indicates that your plant is thriving and expanding its nutrient-gathering network. But if you see surface roots concentrated on one side or reaching desperately toward water sources, it's a clear sign your plant is telling you about uneven moisture distribution or potential soil compaction issues. The color and texture of any visible roots provide crucial intelligence about your plant's underground health. Healthy pepper roots should appear cream-colored to white and feel firm but not woody when you gently touch them. However, if you notice dark, mushy, or black-streaked roots, it indicates root rot or other serious issues that will soon manifest in declining plant health above ground. Even more telling is the sweet, earthy smell of healthy soil around pepper plants compared to the sour, unpleasant odor that accompanies root problems. Now, container-grown pepper plants often develop what experienced gardeners call the spiral signal, where roots begin growing in circles at the bottom of the pot. You can actually detect this without removing the plant by observing how water drains from the container. If the water rushes out immediately after watering, it's a pretty good indication that your plant has likely become root-bound and needs either a larger container or some root pruning to continue thriving. The stems of your pepper plants are like the plant's backbone, and their characteristics reveal volumes about your plant's resilience and future productivity. A truly healthy pepper stem should feel firm and slightly flexible when gently squeezed, never hollow or spongy. The ideal stem thickness for mature pepper plants is roughly the diameter of a pencil at the base, tapering gradually toward the top. Stems that remain thin and spindly despite adequate growing time often indicate insufficient light, overcrowding, or nitrogen deficiency. Color variations in pepper stems tell fascinating stories about your plant's health journey. While most gardeners expect uniformly green stems, healthy pepper plants often develop purple or reddish streaking, especially where branches meet the main stem. This anthocyanin pigmentation actually indicates a plant that's successfully managing environmental stress and building natural defenses. However, dark brown or black streaks that appear suddenly should raise immediate concern, as these often signal fungal infections or bacterial diseases that can spread rapidly. The branching pattern of your pepper plant reveals its growth strategy and helps predict yield potential. Healthy plants develop what's called determinate branching, where new shoots emerge at regular intervals along the main stem, creating a balanced, symmetrical appearance. Plants under stress often produce erratic branching patterns, with shoots appearing only near the top or growing in unusual directions as the plant struggles to find optimal growing conditions. Watch for the subtle swelling that occurs at branch joints on healthy pepper plants. These slightly thickened areas, called nodes, are where the plant stores extra energy and nutrients for rapid growth spurts. Well-defined, prominent nodes indicate a plant that's building reserves for heavy fruit production, while barely visible or sunken nodes suggest a plant operating in survival mode. The flowering stage of pepper plants provides the most critical window for reading your plant's future success, and the signals begin long before the first blooms open. Healthy pepper plants typically produce flowers in clusters, with each cluster containing multiple buds at various stages of development. If your plant produces only single flowers or sparse clusters, it's often communicating that growing conditions aren't optimal for heavy fruit production. Blossom drop, where flowers fall off before setting fruit, frustrates many gardeners, but understanding the reasons behind this behavior transforms it from a problem into valuable communication. Temperature fluctuations, particularly nighttime temperatures below 55 degrees Fahrenheit or daytime temperatures above 90 degrees, cause flowers to abort as the plant protects itself from producing fruit it cannot properly support. However, blossom drop can also indicate inconsistent watering, with the plant shedding flowers during dry periods to conserve energy for survival. Take a close look at the actual flower structure and, if you can, use a magnifying glass for a better view. Healthy pepper flowers should show off prominent sticky stigmas right in the center, surrounded by these bright yellow anthers that are just loaded with pollen. Now, if you notice flowers with shriveled or brown stigmas, or maybe you don't see any visible pollen, that's a sign of pollination problems. These issues might come from environmental stress, nutrient deficiencies, or even pesticide damage that's affecting those helpful insects. So the timing of your first fruit set actually gives you some really important clues about your plant's overall health. Plants that manage to set their first fruits within about 2 weeks of flowering are usually pretty robust and well-nourished. But if there's a delay in fruit development, it often means there's some kind of underlying stress that could end up affecting the productivity of your whole growing season. Your pepper plants are always adjusting to their environment, and honestly, learning to notice these subtle changes can help you optimize their growing conditions before problems even start. One fascinating thing is how healthy pepper plants will orient their leaves throughout the day, trying to get as much sunlight as possible while also keeping water loss to a minimum. In the early morning, you should see the leaves fully extended, soaking up that gentle morning sun. Then, as the temperatures rise, watch for the leaves angling upward just a bit. That's your plant's way of handling heat stress effectively. Water stress, often shows up in ways that are way more subtle than just the obvious wilting that most gardeners tend to notice. Before you ever see those leaves droop, healthy pepper plants will actually start to reduce their leaf surface area a bit, by drawing in the edges or changing the angle at which the leaves stick out from the stems. This is kind of a conservation move, letting the plant keep photosynthesizing while cutting down on water loss through transpiration. And here's something interesting. Plants that get inconsistent watering can develop what experienced growers like to call water memory, where the leaves stay in a sort of partial conservation mode, even when the soil moisture is actually just fine. Temperature stress, well, it shows up in the plant's growth patterns and even its daily rhythms. When pepper plants are getting those ideal temperatures, you'll notice new growth popping up all season long with fresh shoots and leaves coming in regularly. But when temperatures get a bit tough, plants usually pause any visible growth and shift their energy toward root development or making fruit. If it's too cool, you'll see a kind of purple tinge on the leaves and stems, while heat stress makes the plant grow more upright and compact as it tries to cut down on sun exposure. The way your pepper plant reacts to wind actually tells you a lot about its structural health and how well its roots are doing. Plants that are well established with good strong root systems will just flex gracefully in moderate winds. The stems bend, but they don't break. On the other hand, plants that seem too stiff or that flutter a lot even in a light breeze might have root issues or weak stems, and that's going to affect whether they can hold up those heavy fruit loads later on in the season. Understanding these hidden signals, honestly, turns pepper gardening from a guessing game into a real conversation with your plants. By learning to read the subtle language your peppers use, their leaves, roots, stems, flowers, and how they react to the environment, you'll be able to anticipate what they need, stop problems before they even show up, and in the end, harvest bigger, healthier crops than you probably ever thought possible. So, are you ready to become fluent in your pepper plant's secret language? Go ahead and subscribe to Smart Garden for more insider tips that'll totally change your gardening game, and share this guide with friends who want to unlock their plant's hidden potential. Your peppers are already talking to you, now you know how to listen.